Hello Capricorn, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to Elizabeth Angel Tarot. Okay Capricorn, let's start the reading. I want to begin this reading from an unusual place. I want to begin at the end. I want to start by describing a moment that exists in your future, a moment that is so real, so fully formed in the energetic field around you, that I can see it as clearly as if it has already happened. You are standing in a space that belongs to you, not borrowed, not shared, not held together by compromise or financial anxiety, but yours in the fullest sense of the word. There is a calm on your face that is different from anything you have worn before. It is not the calm of someone who is pretending everything is fine. It is the calm of someone who looked at their life and realized, quietly, without fanfare, that the struggle was over. That the season of wondering where it would come from, how it would be enough, whether the math would work out this time that season had ended, and in its place was something you had almost forgotten how to feel: security. Real, deep, unshakable financial security that did not depend on a single fragile source, but flowed from multiple directions with a reliability that no longer required your constant vigilance to maintain. That moment is where we are heading. And everything I am about to share with you is the map of how you get there. But first, I need to take you backward, because the story of your abundance did not begin today. It did not begin when you clicked on this reading. It began a long time ago, in a moment you probably do not remember, a moment that seemed insignificant at the time, but was actually the first domino in a chain of events that has been falling in your favor ever since. There was a decision you made, perhaps a risk you took, a skill you invested in, a refusal to accept a situation that was beneath what you knew you were worth, and that decision, as small as it may have seemed, sent a signal into the universe that has been echoing and amplifying ever since. It said, I expect more, not from a place of greed, not from a place of entitlement, but from a place of deep knowing that the life you were living did not match the life you were designed for. That signal was heard, and what has been happening since then, beneath the surface of your day-to-day reality, is a massive, intricate reorganization of resources, connections, and opportunities, all being directed toward you with the precision of a river finding its way to the ocean. Now let me bring you to the present moment, because this is where the reading becomes very specific. You are currently in what I would describe as the compression phase. This is the period right before expansion, and it often feels like the opposite of what is actually happening. Financially, you may be experiencing tightness. There may be bills that require creative navigation. There may be a gap between what you earn and what you feel you should be earning that is so persistent it has started to feel like a permanent feature of your life. There may be moments where you look at your bank account and feel a heaviness in your chest that goes beyond simple frustration, a weariness that comes from the sheer duration of having to think about money more than you want, to worry about money more than you should have, to make decisions based on money that your heart would have made differently if the funds were there. I see all of that. I acknowledge all of that. And I need you to understand that this compression is not the trajectory. It is the tension in the bowstring right before the arrow flies. It is the inhale before the exhale. The pressure you are feeling is not evidence that abundance is far away. It is evidence that abundance is dangerously close, and the current structure of your financial life is being pushed to its limits because it was never designed to hold what is about to pour in. There is something I want to explain about how financial energy works, because understanding this will change the way you experience the next several weeks and months of your life. Money, at its most fundamental level, is a form of energy. It moves, it circulates, it follows certain laws that are as reliable as the laws governing water or electricity. And one of those laws is this energy flows toward vacuum. It moves into spaces that are open, clear, and ready to receive it. The reason so many people remain stuck in cycles of financial limitation is not that the money is not available. It is that their energetic space is cluttered, filled with old resentments about past financial failures, with guilt about wanting more, with the heavy residue of every time they were made to feel ashamed for not having enough. That clutter acts like a blockage in a pipe, and the money that would naturally flow toward them is diverted elsewhere toward the paths of least resistance. What is happening in your energy right now is a clearing of that pipe. The old residue is being flushed, the blockages are dissolving, and as they dissolve, you will begin to notice small but unmistakable signs that the flow is resuming. Unexpected refunds, overlooked income sources suddenly appearing, costs that mysteriously decrease, small financial miracles that seem insignificant on their own, but together form a pattern that points unmistakably in one direction. What I am sensing now is the first phase of what is coming, and it arrives sooner than you think. There is an opening forming in your financial landscape, not a windfall exactly, not a single dramatic event, but a shift in the current. Money that has been stuck begins to move. A payment you were owed arrives. An opportunity presents itself that you almost overlook because it does not look the way you expected financial salvation to look. This first phase is modest by comparison to what follows, but it is critical because it breaks the spell. It interrupts the pattern of scarcity thinking that has been running like background software in your mind. When that first shift happens, when you see tangible evidence that the financial tide is actually turning, something inside you relaxes. And that relaxation, that release of the chronic tension you have been carrying around money, creates space for the larger movements that come next. The second phase is where the energy becomes distinctly more powerful. This is the phase where the concept of earning begins to change for you at a fundamental level. For most of your life, money has been tied to effort. In a very linear way, you work a certain number of hours, you produce a certain amount of value, and you receive a corresponding amount in return. That model is not going to disappear entirely, but it is going to be supplemented by something else, a new stream, a new avenue, a way of generating income that is more aligned with who you actually are rather than what you have been willing to do to survive. I am sensing that this new stream has a quality of leverage to it, meaning the ratio between your effort and your return shifts dramatically in your favor. Where before you might have traded an hour of your time for a fixed amount, you are moving into territory where a single decision, a single creation, a single connection can produce returns that would have previously required weeks or months of grinding. And here is something that I need you to hear, because I sense a part of you is already resisting the idea that this second phase could apply to your life specifically. You might be thinking, but I do not have a special talent that the world would pay premium prices for. I do not have a business idea that would generate that kind of leverage. I'm just a regular person with a regular set of skills, and leverage like that is for entrepreneurs and influencers and people who were born knowing how to make money work for them. I want to challenge that thinking directly, because it is one of the primary mechanisms keeping your abundance at arm's length. Every single person carries an economic gift, a way of solving problems, of seeing solutions, of creating value that is unique to their particular combination of experiences, skills, and perspective. Yours has been hiding in plain sight, disguised as something ordinary because you have been looking at it through the lens of an economy that only values what it has traditionally rewarded. The new economy forming around you, the one your abundance is connected to, operates on different principles. It values originality over conformity. It rewards depth over speed. It compensates authenticity in ways that would have seemed impossible a generation ago, and you are ideally positioned to thrive within it. Whether you can see that positioning clearly right now or not, this is where I want to speak to something that Elizabeth Angel Tarot is sensing with particular clarity about your relationship with money, because this is the piece that most readings skip over, and it is actually the most important piece of all. You carry a set of inherited beliefs about wealth that do not belong to you. They were placed in your subconscious before you were old enough to evaluate them critically, and they have been running your financial life from behind the scenes ever since. These beliefs take different forms for different people, but the core message is usually some variation of the same theme, that money is scarce, that wanting it is shameful, that people who have a lot of it must have sacrificed something essential to get it, that financial freedom is for a certain kind of person and you are not that kind. These beliefs feel like facts because you have lived inside them for so long. but they are not facts. They are programming. And the reason I am bringing this up now is that the abundance heading toward you cannot fully land in your life until these beliefs are addressed, not eliminated overnight, not forcibly overwritten with affirmations that your subconscious does not believe, but seen, named, held up to the light and examined honestly. The moment you recognize a scarcity belief as something that was installed in you rather than something that is true about you, it begins to lose its power. And what I am sensing is that this recognition process has already begun. You have already started questioning the old assumptions. You have already started wondering whether the financial ceiling you have been living under was built by you or built for you by people who never reached above it themselves. There is a very specific vibration that I am picking up in your energy field right now. And it is the vibration of someone who is on the verge of a breakthrough in their relationship with receiving. This is different from earning. Earning is about exchange. You give something, you get something. Receiving is about allowing you open your hands and something is placed in them without you having to justify why you deserve it. Most people, especially people who have known financial struggle, are remarkably bad at receiving. They deflect compliments. They feel uncomfortable when someone offers to pay. They insist on splitting everything evenly, even when generosity is being offered freely. They unconsciously communicate to the universe that they are not comfortable with being given to, and the universe, ever respectful of free will, obliges by withholding. What is shifting in you right now is this exact pattern. Something is softening in the place where you hold your ideas about what you are allowed to accept without earning it in the traditional sense. And as that softens, the floodgates begin to open. Not because the abundance was not always available, but because you are, for the first time, genuinely prepared to let it in without guilt, without apology, without the reflexive need to give it all away before you have even allowed yourself to enjoy it. There is also a healing happening around specific financial wounds from your past that I want to acknowledge, because they are part of the story and they deserve to be honored. There were times in your life when the lack of money was not just inconvenient, it was humiliating. There were moments when you could not participate in something because the cost was beyond your reach and you had to make an excuse or simply disappear rather than admit the truth. There were situations where someone else's financial power was used as a tool of control over you, where your dependence on another person's resources kept you in a position you would have left if you had the means to. Those memories carry a charge, and that charge has been influencing your relationship with money in ways you may not have fully recognized. But what I am sensing is that these wounds are being healed, not erased, because the lessons they carry are valuable, but transformed from sources of shame into sources of fuel. The person who knows what it feels like to go without develops a relationship with abundance that is fundamentally different from someone who has never experienced lack. You will never take prosperity for granted. You will never become careless with the gift of financial freedom. And that quality, that depth of appreciation, is part of why you have been chosen to receive what is coming. The third phase of what I see unfolding is the one that will reshape your understanding of what is possible for your life. This is the phase where abundance stops being something you pursue and becomes something you inhabit. It is the difference between chasing money and living inside a reality where money flows to you as naturally as air fills your lungs. This phase does not arrive through luck or accident. It arrives because by this point you have undergone a fundamental transformation in how you think, how you value yourself, how you make decisions, and how you relate to the energy of wealth. You will notice it in small ways. First, the anxiety around checking your account will fade. The mental calculations you constantly run about whether you can afford something will become less frequent. The background noise of financial worry that has accompanied you for so long will gradually quiet until one day you realize it has gone silent. And in that silence, there is a kind of freedom that is difficult to describe to someone who has not experienced it. It is not the freedom of reckless spending or careless indulgence. It is the freedom of knowing that you are provided for, that the universe has your back financially, that the days of scraping and stretching and performing constant financial triage are behind you, truly behind you. And what lies ahead is a relationship with money built on trust rather than fear. I want to say something about the specific nature of the wealth that is entering your life, because not all abundance is created equal. What I am sensing for you is not the kind of wealth that isolates or corrupts or demands that you become someone other than who you are. It is abundance that amplifies your nature rather than distorting it. Money in your hands becomes generosity. It becomes freedom not just for you, but for the people you love, the causes you believe in, the parts of your community that need exactly the kind of support you will be able to offer. There is a reason this level of financial blessing is being directed at you specifically, and it has everything to do with the kind of person you have proven yourself to be during the seasons of lack. When you had very little, you still gave. When you were stretched thin, you still found ways to help others. When the scarcity was real and pressing, your first instinct was still to share rather than hoard. The universe noticed that. It took careful note of how you handled difficulty, and what it observed was a person who could be trusted with more, not because you would manage it perfectly, but because your fundamental orientation toward abundance is healthy, generous, and aligned with something larger than personal accumulation. And there is a generational dimension to this abundance that extends beyond your individual experience. What you are building financially, and I use the word building intentionally because this is not passive receiving but active co-creation with the forces supporting you, has implications for people who are not yet in your life. It has implications for future generations, for people who will benefit from the financial foundation you establish without ever knowing the full story of what it cost you to lay it. You are breaking a cycle. The patterns of lack, of struggle, of living paycheck to paycheck, of never feeling financially safe, these patterns did not start with you. They were handed down through your lineage like invisible inheritance, shaping the financial reality of each generation without anyone stopping to question whether it had to be this way. You are the one who is questioning it. You are the one who is interrupting the pattern. And the wealth that flows into your life from this point forward is not just for you. It is the beginning of a new financial legacy that will touch lives you may never meet. Now here is something that I want to name with precision, because it has practical implications for how you move forward. The wealth I am sensing does not require you to abandon what matters to you. It does not demand that you sell your soul for a paycheck or compromise your values for a bigger number. In fact, the opposite is true. The specific path to financial abundance that is opening for you is one where your authenticity is the asset, where the things that make you different, the perspective only you hold, the skills and talents and ways of thinking that you may have undervalued precisely because they came naturally to you, these are the raw materials of your prosperity. There has been a tendency in your life to dismiss what comes easily as not valuable enough to be worth money, because the culture you were raised in taught you that if it does not feel like hard labor, it does not deserve real compensation. That belief is being dismantled right now, and what is replacing it is a far more accurate understanding that ease and value are not opposites, that the thing you do effortlessly, the thing you would do for free because you love it so much, is often the very thing the world is willing to pay the most for. What Elizabeth Angel Tarot is reading in your energy at this precise moment is a frequency I can only describe as readiness that has finally matured into deserving. For a long time, you were ready for more, but did not fully believe you deserved it. And for another period, you believed you deserved more, but were not practically ready to manage it. These two streams, readiness and deserving, are converging in your field right now, and their meeting point is the exact location where your financial reality is about to shift. This convergence is rare. It does not happen on demand. It happens when a person's inner work, outer circumstances, and spiritual timing align in a specific configuration that allows wealth to flow in without obstruction. You have reached that configuration, not through force or manipulation of the universe, but through the accumulated weight of your own growth, your own patience, your own stubborn refusal to give up on the belief that your life could be different. I am also sensing a change in your material environment that will be one of the first outward signs of this financial transformation. The physical space you occupy is going to shift, whether through improvement of your current space or movement to a new one. This is not a superficial change. It is a reflection of an inner shift that has already occurred. the universe's way of matching your external reality to the internal upgrades you have undergone. The space you currently inhabit was sufficient for the person you used to be. It is not sufficient for the person you are becoming. And the universe knows this, even if your practical mind has not yet accepted that an upgrade is possible. It is possible. It is coming. And it will arrive in a way that feels less like an indulgence and more like a correction, as if the universe is simply adjusting a misalignment between who you are and how you live. The way a tailor takes in a suit that no longer fits the body it was made for. I am also picking up on something that you may have already started to notice, an increase in small, seemingly coincidental encounters with the energy of abundance, numbers appearing in meaningful patterns, conversations with strangers that unexpectedly turn to topics of financial opportunity, articles or videos crossing your path that contain information directly relevant to a question you have been holding about money, a growing awareness of resources and possibilities that were always there but somehow invisible to you before now. These synchronicities are not random. They are breadcrumbs being placed along your path by the same intelligence that has been orchestrating this entire financial realignment. Each one is a confirmation that you are moving in the right direction, and each one carries within it a small piece of practical information or energetic encouragement that is specifically calibrated for where you are in the process. Pay attention to them, follow them. They are not leading you astray. They are leading you home to a financial reality that matches the magnitude of the life you were always designed to live. There is also something I want to say about the relationship between your financial destiny and your sense of purpose, because the two are more deeply intertwined than you may realize. The abundance I am sensing for you is not purposeless wealth. It is not money that arrives in a vacuum, disconnected from meaning and direction. It is wealth with intention built into its very structure, money that flows through your life on its way to fulfilling something larger, something that gives your financial success a context and a significance that goes beyond personal comfort. You will find, as this abundance unfolds, that the more aligned you become with your deepest sense of purpose, the more freely the money flows. And conversely, when you stray from that alignment, when you make financial decisions based purely on fear or convention rather than on what feels true, the flow will slow, gently redirecting you back toward the path where prosperity and purpose walk side by side. This is not a punishment, it is a guidance system. The universe is not just giving you money, it is giving you money that comes with a compass built in, money that naturally guides you toward your highest expression if you are willing to follow its lead. Let me speak now to the momentum I see building beyond these initial phases, because the financial trajectory I am reading for you is not a peak followed by a plateau. It is a curve that continues to rise. The abundance you experience in the near term is only the beginning of a much longer arc of financial growth that extends far into your future. Each phase builds on the one before it, compounding not just in monetary terms, but in wisdom, in confidence, in your ability to make decisions from a place of clarity rather than desperation. You will look back on the period of compression you are currently in and understand it as the last chapter of an old financial story, a story that had to end before the new one could begin. And the new story, the one that is writing itself into existence right now with every energetic shift happening beneath the surface of your life, is one of sustained, expanding, deeply rooted prosperity. There is something I want to address directly, because I feel it hovering at the edges of your energy and it needs to be spoken aloud before we close. You have been afraid to want this. You have been afraid to name the desire for financial abundance plainly, without spiritual wrapping paper, without couching it in language about purpose and service and higher callings. And while all of those things are real and genuinely present in your journey, the simple, unadorned truth is that you want to be free from financial worry, and that wanting is sacred. It is not shallow. It is not materialistic in the negative sense that word has been given. It is not unspiritual. It is one of the most honest and most human prayers a person can offer, the prayer for enough. Enough to live without the constant hum of anxiety running beneath every decision you make. enough to make choices based on what your heart wants rather than what your bank balance dictates, enough to breathe without calculating the cost of each breath, enough to be generous without first checking whether generosity would leave you short, enough to sleep without the weight of tomorrow's bills pressing against your chest in the dark. That prayer, in all its rawness and simplicity, has been heard. It has been held. And the answer, vast and specific and tailored precisely to the contours of your life, is already on its way. As this reading draws to its close, I want to return to where we started, to that future moment where you are standing in a space that belongs to you, wearing a calm that comes from the bone-deep knowledge that the struggle is over. I want you to know that this moment is not a fantasy I constructed to make you feel better. It is a real point on the timeline of your life that I can see with the same clarity with which I see your present circumstances. The distance between where you are and where that moment lives is shorter than you believe, and the path connecting them is already illuminated, already in motion, already being walked by a version of you who trusted this message enough to keep going, to keep believing, to keep preparing for the abundance that was always written into the code of your destiny. Thank you for being here, for your openness, for the courage it takes to believe in something you cannot yet see in your bank account, but can feel in the deepest chamber of your knowing. If this reading stirred something real inside you, if it touched the part of you that has always known you were meant for more than financial survival, then I invite you to stay close to Elizabeth Angel Tarot, because this is only the beginning of what is being revealed. And the chapters ahead hold confirmations that will make everything you heard today feel like the understatement of a lifetime. Your destiny with abundance is not gentle. It is not timid. It is not a polite increase that you barely notice, or a modest improvement that requires a magnifying glass to appreciate. It is a force, a concentrated, directed, unstoppable force that has been gathering strength in the invisible dimensions of your life and is now ready to break through into the visible, the tangible, the undeniable. And it is arriving with your name written across every part of it, in a handwriting that only the universe knows how to produce. Receive it. You have earned this, not through suffering, but through becoming the kind of person who can hold it with grace.